Well, good morning, everyone. It's Sunday, August 21st in the year 2022. And I haven't been around for a while, so once again, I've decided to do an off-the-cuff live stream, which may not attract anybody because it was short notice, but that doesn't matter. I just wanted to get on and make myself noticed because it's been a while. I think it's been a month since I did a video. But I wanted to start off with a few readings from my very old Book of Common Prayer. This book was found in an antique store, and I just thought it was lovely. What a pretty book that is, pocket sized. And it was printed in 1929, and every once in a while I'll go on Facebook and I'll take something from this book and I'll post it. And it usually gets a lot of attention, and it's not the attention. I'm just hoping that it kind of hits home with some people because we're still in a mess and there's no mistaking it. And it's just kind of nice to have a little prayer once in a while. I'm not a terribly religious person, but I do appreciate it. I grew up in Catholic school. But that's not a good thing or a bad thing. I think it's kind of neutral, but it keeps me in touch with this sort of thing. So it's on my mind, and usually on a Sunday. So I'm going to read a few things from the Book of Common Prayer, if you don't mind. These come from the chapter titled "A Penitential Office" for Ash Wednesday. And I don't think it really matters because a lot of these are really hitting home right now. So let's get started. O Lord, we beseech thee, mercifully hear our prayers and spare all those who confess their sins unto thee, and they whose consciences by sin are accused, by thy merciful pardon be absolved through Christ our Lord. Amen. Here's the second one. O most mighty God and merciful Father, who has compassion upon all men, and who wouldest not the death of a sinner, but rather that he should turn from his sin and be saved. Mercifully forgive us our trespasses, receive us comfort, who are grieved and wearied with the burden of our sins. Thy property is always to have mercy. To thee only it appertaineth to forgive sins. Spare us therefore, good Lord, spare thy people, whom thou hast redeemed. Enter not into judgment with thy servants, but so turn thy anger from us, who meekly acknowledge our transgressions. Hey, Cody, how you doing? I'm reading from the Book of Common Prayer. I usually put something up on Facebook, but I thought it might have a little more of an impact if I did it on a live stream. Okay, where did you spare us, therefore, good Lord, spare thy people whom thou hast redeemed. Enter not into judgment with thy servants, but so turn thy anger from us, who meekly acknowledge our transgressions, and truly repent us all our faults, and so make haste to help us in this world, that we may live with thee in the world to come, through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen. Nice little book. Even the card is the bookmark has a great message. It says, "Do all the good you can, by all the means you can, in all the ways you can, in all the places you can, at all times you can, to all the people you can, as long as you can." That was written by John Wesley. Isn't that cool? Hey, Craig, how you doing? I just saw one of your videos from like 10 days ago about your knives, and I just watched it this morning and left a comment. Those are some really cool knives. Cody says the world could use a lot more of that. Yeah, isn't that the truth? everybody's, you know, I feel like I'm harping on it, but 2020 created the age of narcissism. It really did. And it's, I mean, it was always here. We always had problems with, selfish people, a-holes, major a-holes. They're always around. But it was, it's kind of like, it's kind of like there are no societal checks and balance, or checks and, yeah, checks and boundaries anymore. I mean, it's just an all-out narcissistic shit fest that just won't stop. And everybody thinks that they're obliged to be the biggest asshole. Oh, what did I get on my face? The biggest a-hole they could possibly be. And I just, I'm still out in the world. I work with a lot of very professional people. We all get along very well. We basically work in service of life and the living. And so, we're doing something that's not, doesn't pertain to us. And we have to open ourselves up to the, well, we're in the natural world. We're trying to stop these diseases from killing off all the trees and, keep up on the invasives and all that stuff. But yeah, but most people, they do the daily 9 to 5, and I guess, eventually, no matter what the situation is, it's going to kind of pigeonhole you into a pretty selfish, at least, like a self-preservationist kind of thought process where you just become, you put blinders on, you just become focused on what you need to do for yourself. And especially after what happened, well, we're going on 3 years now. People are just, they're, I mean, I keep that every time I think it, yeah, they're out for number one. I mean, it's always been that way, but now it's just even worse. But it says, in the end of times, the right will be wrong and the wrong will be right. You see that every day. Oh, I bet you do. I bet you. I'm not on that level anymore. When I worked for the state park, I wasn't a cop or anything, but we were on the front lines and we got to see a lot of that. But yeah, you see an awful lot of hell going on. But what I'm concerned about is this stuff in New York State. And it looks like I fall under all of the, let's see, what is it? The HR 1808. It's the assault weapons ban of 2022. It looks like I fall, because I have a semi-automatic shotgun and 22, but I fall underneath all of these requirements. I don't have anything that takes anything over like 10 bullets or 2 shells. But what I'm concerned about is the lead ban, because I'm seeing a lot of guys. They've been, and Cody, they've been talking about this for years in New York. I've been getting New York Outdoor News for a long, long time now, and it's either the lead ban or it's should we crossbow or should we not crossbow. As far as I'm concerned, it's still archery, but that's a whole other story. But this is what I'm concerned about right now, because I'm seeing a lot of guys saying that, they've been looking into copper, but they're having such a hard time trying to find this. Any kind of alternative. And and I go and I buy some more lead ammo, and this pops up in the August 12th edition of New York Outdoor News. What you guys have to say? Craig says, I have a lot of friends who are loading zinc. Oh, zinc? Yeah? Have you heard anything about copper? Because it wasn't until I saw this issue that I was aware of copper. But there's still the problem of access. Nobody's confident that they're going to be able to obtain enough of an alternative. Cody says, I'm not sure which state leans further left. No, really? Well, since I live here, I'm gonna vote for New York on that one. Oh my goodness. You know, it's just crazy. It's like the whole thing with the electricity. I mean, we've had electrical vehicles pretty much since vehicles were made, and they never caught on because they're not sustainable. And you know, you see these pads, like, I hate going into Walmart, but because of school, I go there for my office supplies. I would rather go to Office Depot, but the um, the prices at Walmart are just so much better, especially for a student right now. But I drive past those aprons for the electric cars, and they're all. I mean, behind all of them is a diesel generator to power that port. It's just really crazy. Mamook channel, how are you? Thanks for coming in. Craig says most wheel heights are going toward zinc, so it's easily available. Most wheel weights are going towards zinc. I'm still not sure what that means, Craig. Pardon my stupidity. Well, here comes the first call of the day. I'll be back if I can. All right, Cody, thanks for stopping in, and I hope it goes nice and smooth. I hope it's real simple. So let's see. Oh, I was gonna do something on YouTube. I think I wanted to get turn some more people blue. YouTube. I think I wanted to. Let me turn that down. Yeah, definitely be safe. You never know what's going to happen. I remember when I worked for the state park um, system, there was a young cop out of Fort Montgomery. Real nice guy, real good too, and he just lacked a little experience. Well, somebody, and this used to happen quite a bit. Somebody pulls over to the side of the Palisades Parkway. Now there are no shoulders on a parkway. It's a parkway. It's for the beauty, you know, of the trees. They don't have a shoulder. They keep the whole idea is to keep the trees as close to the road as possible, which is becoming a problem. This is a whole other story too, because a lot of trees are getting old, and it's not just the ash trees. A lot of these trees are fully leafed out. A fellow who owned a local business down in Rockland County got killed by one that fell down on him not too long ago, which is very, very sad. And so this young cop ages ago, he pulls somebody over. Oh no, somebody's on the side of the road, so he pulls over to offer assistance. And what do you think happens? Whoever, now this is even before cell phones, so you know they already had this planned out. His buddy sandwiches him in. It almost became a very volatile situation. Luckily, the jurisdiction is shared on the Palisades Parkway. It could change at any time. Sometimes it's New York State troopers out of Rockland with the Bear Mountain State cops, along with the Highland Falls and the Fort Montgomery police departments. And sometimes a lot of that can be eliminated and some of it can be added. But luckily, a state trooper was driving on the northbound lane and he saw this happen. So he did a U-ey on the grass medium and he got over there, called in backup, and they diffused the situation. So that was definitely a lesson learned. You just don't know what the heck is going to happen there. It's really a shame. Craig, I just made you a moderator. I hope that's stuck. Oh, Craig, how is your garden, man? Mine got destroyed. I've been away from the house for 2 weeks, and a groundhog dug under the fence. It's the first time that's ever happened to me. I mean, I've had plenty of groundhogs that I've trapped and gotten rid of, but I never had one go right underneath the fence. Because usually over time, if you leave the same fence up between with all the winters that hit it, it kind of pushes it down into the ground. So you don't even have to dig a trench. I mean, it just the ground naturally just kind of engulfs it. And yeah, this sucker got in there. He ate beautiful butternut squashes. He got my cantaloupe. What else did he get? He got my Dakota squash. It was really a shame. But you know what? I'm not too worried about this year because there's been somebody stealing from my garden. And I did have a conversation the last 2 years about this over if you want something, it's a big garden. I don't mind doing the work. I love doing the work. I'm good at it. I enjoy it. But if you want something, offer something. Anything. Do a little weeding, whatever. But there was never anything offered. So this garden is huge. I really don't need it. I have windowsill space year round that I can use as a greenhouse. I also have a porch that has a sunny spot. And what I was thinking of doing was getting some potting soil bags. And I looked up a couple of videos and they're really pretty cool. And they were cutting out the backs of them. Like this is the bag, and then you cut around here and you loosen it up and you water it because most of it's loamy and pretty dry, and they're planting in that. And you can do it through the cold season too. I don't know how far I can extend it, but it's worth experimenting. You put them in a bin, just put the lid on the ground, and then when the frost is going to come, just put the top on. Now, if you're going to do that throughout the cold season, especially now, you want to work on cold season plants like the lettuces, Swiss chard you could do, radish, carrots, but they'd have to be Dante's or Dante's half longs. They're only about that big. Things like that, because you're not going to do tomatoes and peppers and such. Craig says, I've been weeding for 3 days. Yeah. Cataract. Oh, yeah, I heard that on your last live stream. I hope that went well. I have a couple friends who went through the same thing. Easy peasy, they said. They were a little scared at first, but it was handled extremely well, and they are amazed at the results. Still have tomatoes and okra and beans. That sounds good. Putting in my full garden next month. Oh, cool. So you're going to do all the cold season plants. That's awesome. Yeah, I'm going to kind of miss a little bit of the big garden, but not really because of all the schooling I did this year. And I even it just took up so much time. I even had to change. Oh, yeah, good. Glad to hear it. Yeah, I even changed my mowing habits. Instead of doing like 10 strips, I'm only doing 8. And, so the lawn can take sometimes almost up to 2 hours. It's a big one. It's a 2-acre plot of land, and about an acre of it was being mowed by me. And I'm not going to do it anymore, because what happened was I had asked for permission to put the big garden in next to my neighbor, and I was granted permission for that. And that was years ago, and that was when they used to go to the beach. Well, they gave up the beach property, and now they're around all the time. And I was mowing that when they were away, because I just, I figured, well, I got the lawnmower out, I might as well run through it. Besides, you don't want it to look like nobody lives up here, because it's kind of, it's too much. And it's a push mower because, Craig, it's all on a hill. It's the whole thing. The whole thing is a downward slope to the stream. So I had an old wheel horse here at one time, but I actually sold it. Guy was really happy to get it too, and I kind of wish I hadn't, but I have very little flat area, and for me to use a wheel horse, I mean, those things are tanks. If that thing rolled on me, I'd really have to be very careful. And not to mention, a lot of this is backfill. So as we're in a drought right now, that changes the composition of the soil. It moves. The wintertime, different amounts of rain, that changes the lay of the land. Sometimes you even get a sinkhole. So it's kind of a dicey situation on something as formidable as a wheel horse. So I've had a couple of mowers over the years. I had a Craftsman with giant wheels on the back, so it would be easy to move it on the hills. And then some people borrowed it. I shouldn't have let anybody borrow it, but it was a great mower and everybody loved it. And so people would, they borrowed the darn thing and they just wore it out. They just didn't have the touch that I had, I guess. And one of them blew the head gasket on it, so I got that fixed. But I don't know if this is true or not. It's kind of like with a car. But once that happens, the lifespan is cut short on an engine. So it didn't last much longer after that. Rest in peace, my dear old Craftsman. So the fellow who I used to go to, he's long since retired. His name is Jim Patterson. If anybody's around my area, they would know Jim Patterson was a god at the Orange County Speedway once upon a time. He was a mechanic's mechanic. He could build a car from the ground up. The man was amazing, and I learned a lot from him. In fact, I wanted to apprentice with him at one point, but I just didn't have the time, especially for welding. That's a great thing to learn. But he took care of my yard machines, and so when that engine blew, he said, "That's it, honey, it's over with." He said, "But I've got this really nice 0-point turn radius John Deere as a walk behind with a transmission." And that thing, I said, "Sure." I think he sold it to me for $200. I was like 8 years old at the time. And oops, hang on, I gotta close the screen. I got chipmunks trying to come in the house. That's the last thing I need are chipmunks chewing on my toes, because they're always looking for something. You're the food dispenser. That's how they see you. So when they see you, they think food. So they might start chewing on you. Yeah, for that beautiful John Deere, and it's unfortunately the one wheel. Let's see, how do I turn? I usually turn. Most of the weight is on the right front. They're kind of set up like this, and then the wheel is underneath it, the arm for it, and that has ripped up along the side of the carriage or the housing, and so that had to be welded back on twice. So what I tried to do it might happen to the left side too, but what I tried to do was change my my routine so that when I turned, I turned to the right instead of constantly turning to the left, because the wheel was taking all the weight all the time. And on a hill, sometimes you got to put all your weight into it, regardless of the transmission. You still have to put some work into it. But something happened to that about 3 years ago. I had to take the carburetor apart, and my guy Jim Patterson had retired by then. So I went to Jim Devitt, and he was the guy who started like one of the biggest farm stores, probably the first big farm store that had pretty much everything you absolutely needed in it, ages ago, like back in the 70s. And Jim, for some reason, I'm not sure why, he had his little shop up there. He had sold the bulk of the business, kept the little shop. And so somebody told me to go see him, and I walked in without anything and just talked to him because he's an older guy. And I thought, well, he may not want to get involved in this, and he didn't really. He didn't personally. So I think I asked him twice if I could bring the machine in. He said no. He said, but this is what I want you to do. He said, it's carburetor. It's always carburetor. So go back, take it apart, do this, that, and the other. Check this, that, and the other. And so I did that, and I had a ball doing it. But I still didn't know what I was doing. So I looked it up. I got the serial number. I did find this one fella on YouTube who made a great video about tearing the carburetor apart. But even still, with Jim's guidance, he taught me small engine repair. I mean, it was great. The greatest part was putting it back together and the damn thing started. That was the most fun I've ever had. But it was hard because it took a long time. I had a couple parts that took a little while to come in, and the grass is growing and growing. And of course, at that time, I was doing that little section over by the garden by the neighbors, and the grass is growing, and And of course, you know, I don't get to hear, gee, do you need any help or how's it going? All I get to hear is the grass is so high, my feet get wet when I get out of the car. BS. Good morning. Thanks for coming in. Is that Barnaby? I'm not sure, but I recognize the your Gadsden flag. I didn't expect to see B/S. We're just talking about gardens and how much work they are. But anyhow, that's my story with the small engine stuff, and I absolutely love it. So I tell people, you know, but I go around and collect lawnmowers because people just put them out on the curb, and I thought it was Bernie. Thanks, Craig. I haven't seen you in a while. I worked on mine and lost a little pin out of the jet. Okay, I'm not sure about that, but I'm sure I've seen it. I know I had to take a needle threader out of my sewing box and use that. I think it's the injection hole inside. Now, see, if I were to open it up and look at it, I know exactly where to go and how to come back. But I don't always know. I know I've replaced one pin in my snowblower. That's because I threw a rock through it the size of my shoe. You gotta admit that's another craftsman. You gotta admit that's pretty damn good for a snowblower to only lose one pin for a rock that big. Pretty amazing. But yeah, there's like this tiny little injection hole that I had to put that little needle threader through to clean it out. Yeah, sure, Craig. Whatever. I'll just keep rambling on. I'm glad to see everybody in here. I mean, I've got 3 people in here, and it's a Sunday morning, and this was right off the cuff, so I didn't even plan on really doing it. And then I saw Craig's video on the knives, and I thought, you know what? Maybe I'll go on alive and do a little rambling. But yeah, the lawnmowers, you know, people put them out and they're like, oh, well, you know, I pulled the cord a few times, it's not right. And now I know it's probably the carburetor that's causing the problem. Yeah, no, you know, that's true. You know by the sound, if the engine's blown, it's not even trying. But if you pull the cord and you can hear it trying, then chances are it's just the carburetor. So I had some really old tools that fit this son of a gun because all the other ones that I pulled up from the basement were not fitting anything on this John Deere. So it was this pack from the 1950s. Let's take a look at this. This is cool. This is what I used to fix the lawnmower. I had to tape it because it's gotten so old. This came from my uncle's house just before they sold it. He said, go down to the house, take anything you want. There wasn't much left, but that wasn't the point. But I was really happy to get this because everything in it fit. And this is, I'll read it to you if you can't see it. But oh, it's upside down. This is the GM Company Manufacturing Incorporated combination hammer screwdriver socket wrench set, 13-08 43rd Avenue, Long Island City, New York. Pretty cool, huh? And look at what it's got. Isn't that awesome? Look at this. There might have been a few things added to it over the years, but this is the toolkit that fixed the John Deere mower, and it was so comfortable to work with. And nothing caused any damage. There was no stripping, no struggling. Very easy. And these all came with it. You see that? So the biggest problem with the carburetor on the John Deere were the gaskets. They were just getting old. There's another one. So this toolkit impressed me so much, I'm going to fix the world with it. It gave me so much confidence. I was like, I fix anything as long as I've got this cool little toolkit. There's another one. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4 5 sockets in here. That's the biggest one. Very, very cool. And it comes with an accessory of different tools. Here's a smaller screwdriver. Yeah, you should do more lives again. Yeah, because I'm just, I'm sitting around thinking I should do a live or I should go do some more paperwork. It's much more fun to do a live. Look at the little hammer that comes with it. Barnaby says, I watch a YouTube channel called Musty One. He fixes a lot of equipment left on the side of the road. Ooh, I got to check him out. He'll give me some ideas. When I finally get the time, I can start doing some of this stuff. And then, of course, it comes with two different size Phillips heads. I got to write that one down, Barnaby. Thanks for mentioning it. Craig, I was showing everybody this really cool toolkit from the 1950s. It was made in Long Island City, and these are all the sockets that came with it. It came with 5. I don't know if some were added or not, but it don't matter to me, man. This thing worked like a charm. I was saying to Barnaby, this thing gave me so much confidence. I feel like fixing the world. I think it could, and so well made. It's too bad. It would have been really cool to be in a leather pouch, but this was in the 1950s. Plastic was. It's pretty big back then. We were starting to go plastic with pretty much everything. So that's what, in case Craig, I want Craig to see it. So that's what the kit looks like, and you just fold it up, you roll it, you roll that sucker up. I had to put that on there because the plastic started to dry rot. And then you tie your string on it. One of my favorite things. So what's new, Barnaby? Anything good going on? I mean, there's always something good going on, but we have got so many distractions, right? My goodness. I mean, just pathetic stuff. Pretty much everything I see in the news, I just say it's a diversion. So, take it with a grain of salt and wait and see what happens next, because chances are they're just smoking you. So Barnaby says to watch Musty One. Definitely going to check him out. Never hurts to learn. I was fixing this John Deere a couple of years ago. At the time, they were just, my friends and stuff, they were like, their mowers wouldn't start. And I still didn't have all the information yet to be able to advise them. But they were like, well, it's not starting. So we're throwing it out and we're getting an electric one. It's like, and then when I learned, I was like, you should have kept it. You should have kept the old combustion engine. Would have done you good. And I don't care what anybody says. We have an unlimited supply of oil. I don't think there's that. They've been saying we were going to run out of oil since I was a kid. That was since the 70s. And they kind of say that we are, but I don't. I'm sorry. After all these years, I don't believe any of it. Nothing. Musty One. Oh, cool. You got a nice red and white VW microbus on there. It's got a $500 forklift. Holy crow. He's a lifelong fan of all things powered. Let's turn some wrenches on rusty junk and see if we can bring them back to life. All right. I love that. Now it makes me wish I didn't sell that wheel horse. Definitely subscribe to him. Thank you. Oh, really? No kidding. Yeah, they were made in Long Island City. I looked them up, and I think they stopped making them. But this one in particular was from. In fact, I'm not even sure if the building is there anymore. It might have been changed into something else or torn down. But that kit saved my life because, well, my neighbor came over with a socket wrench set, nothing fit, nothing. I have my grandpa's tools. I have his lunchbox. Cool. I enjoy the quality from that time. Man, you got it. We're not kidding. I have my dad's toolbox from, and the thing weighs as much as my freaking car, but his toolbox built the big roads around here, the coal burners that went offline, the nuclear power plant, Indian Point, the famous Indian Point nuclear power plant. So his tools, same, same thing. They built America, and I can't get rid of them. But unfortunately, it didn't really. His tools have helped me with the snowblower. Not that that's ever had any problems. Another Craftsman. And most of my dad's tools from the 1950s and 60s are all Craftsman too. In fact, he's got a couple of wrenches in there. I would love to hear the story behind it, but he had to hit it with the torch to bend it for some job or another. I'm not sure what was going on, but boy, I pulled it out of there. I was like, wonder what happened here. He really had a tight spot to get into. He was basically an iron worker, but he also did he was in the unions and millwright early on. Yeah, Brooklyn Millwrights Union carpenters. But to do Indian Point and Dance Camera Roasting, the two coal burners, that was iron worker work. I mean, you still needed all the trades, but he was in the Iron Workers Union at the time, and these tools are representative of that time period towards the end of his life when he was still working. So most of it is for welding, and some of the files in there, holy crow, they are giants, absolute giants. Barnaby says every election cycle has some doomsday. But yeah, every time. I was last year, I was upstate visiting my cousin. She moved from the West Coast to the East Coast because the thing with the fires were starting to bother her. And I mentioned, I'm not going to go into, if you know what I mean, great. If you don't, look it up. I had mentioned DEW. I'm not going to elaborate on that. But you probably know what I mean. And I said, it's just really bizarre because when I worked for the park, we saw loads of forest fires and none of them burned like that. Well, she didn't believe me at first, and she said I was making it up. But she must have done some research because all of a sudden I get an email saying, I'm out of here. I'm moving back home. So I go up to see her, and we're driving around, and it's a super hot day, and I had the air conditioner. She rolls down her window. She goes, "Oh my God!" She goes, "You need to turn off your air conditioner. You're using it too much. Don't you know about greenhouse gases and all that?" I said, "Yeah, as a matter of fact, I do. I've been hearing about it my entire freaking life, and they've been telling us that we were going to destroy the earth and die like 50 million times over the last 50 years." I said, I'm not worried about it. I said, look around you. Everything's fine. We're not destroying anything. So I'm not worried about it. Craig says, my granddad owned a gas station. We had, oh my God, I bet you did. I bet. Who is it who used to come around all the time for the tools? The delivery guy. Not Matco. But everybody had a toolbox from this guy. I can't remember who the heck it was. It wasn't one guy. It was a company. And then they had, it was like a franchise, and they sent people out. Isn't that Bernie? Bernie says, isn't it funny how back then manufacturers want us to work on their stuff? They gave us exactly. Oh, Snap-on, you're right, Bernie. Yeah, Snap-on was like God. And I don't see those trucks anymore. Rarely do I ever see them. I do know at my mechanic shop, there's a lot of what looks like is becoming vintage Snap-on, and these guys are still using this stuff. I mean, they really liked it. I knew a machinist who worked in a factory up in Kingston who bought tools from Snap-on eons ago. he retired, and of course, they're like enshrined in his garage because he said, without these, he said they were fantastic. That they never failed. But yeah, my dad's all craftsmen or the old school craftsmen, and I don't think they're making it that good anymore. I don't know, how everything's been outsourced, and it's just really, really a shame. Now, we can't even make a coffee cup in this country. Every time I see something in the store, I might see something nice. I go to a place called Adams Fairacre Farms. It's kind of like the modern version of Devitt's, which I was telling you about earlier, except for groceries. But they have a nice gift shop, and they have it strategically placed, so when you walk in, you can't help but see it. And I see a really pretty mug there, and I'm like, oh, maybe I need a new coffee mug. Turn it over. First thing I do, made in China. It's been a long time, I think, since we've made. I don't even know where this was made, but this is old. This is like 40 years old. Kind of looks like milk glass. So I don't even know where it came from. It's just something that came out of my mom's estate, and I liked it, so I hung on to it. It was one of her favorite coffee cups, but it does not say on it where it was made. I have no idea. I'm just hoping it was made in America, because anything that comes out of China. Oh, you know what I heard? I have a friend down in Florida. He lives in Newport Richey. He said for a while now, they don't want to insure a house that's 10 years or older. He said even 15 years. You can't get homeowners insurance for it. I said, then what do? Tear the house down and build a new one? He said, no, what they do is they come in and they decide, well, this kitchen needs to be updated. This bathroom needs to be updated. You need all new fixtures. You need modern everything. So if you had a ball and claw bathtub, they don't want you to have that because it's outdated. I'm like, what the hell? It sounds like somebody's in cahoots with the contractors. That's for sure. That sounds like a mob related thing, like in the old days. Bernie says Craftsman went downhill. I agree. I still have older Craftsman tools. I just hope the ratchets don't break. Really? Yeah, my dad has a few ratchets in there. He's got a micrometer that was once that he used on Indian Point. And at the time, that was like top-notch, high-end technology for the work he was doing. And it came in this beautiful wooden blue velvet lined box that has since deteriorated. I wish I still had it because it was really beautiful, and it had a slide top on it. And the micrometer sat in a mold that was covered with the blue velvet. And yeah, the box unfortunately completely fell apart. The mice didn't get into it, but it's kind of too bad because I remember when I was a kid, I loved his tools. I used to get into his tools all the time. He's like, those aren't toys. And he finally put them up and away from me because one day he pulled down the road to come to the house, and he saw little blue words out in the street. And that's because I found his plumb line as a little kid, and I went out in the street and started snapping words on the road. So he said, okay, it's time to get that toolbox out of that kid's reach because she's getting into trouble out there. She's making not really. When he reprimanded me, I know that when he turned away, he had a big, big smile on his face. But that's all right. What are you gonna do? Yeah, it's nice to have this old stuff. In fact, a friend of mine looked at my dad's toolbox one time, and he said the welding equipment in here is amazing. He said don't even ever consider selling it. He said hang on to it. He said you may need this someday. The only thing I don't have is the helmet. I have the glass shields for the helmet. I don't know what happened to that. It probably was given away or something because it's kind of bulky. And my mom just didn't want to deal with it because, I mean, Christ, she hung on to his tools for 40 some years. and I'm glad she did. My brother isn't interested because he's basically like a designer now. He doesn't do a lot of labor. He designs warehouse, floor plans and stuff, and he doesn't want to get his hands dirty. My brother went to school for airplane mechanic back in the day. He hung on to those tools forever too. But my brother isn't like me. He's a city man, some country. I don't mind getting my hands dirty, but he does it. He doesn't want to do that. He's more of an executive. He's got a degree in business law, which he doesn't really use because he's designing floor plans. But that's the way that goes. So as of August 12th, the House narrowly passes the semi-automatic firearms ban. This is what I was talking about earlier. I just fall below these guidelines for HR 1808 in New York State. And it says here, semi-automatic rifle that has a capacity to accept a detachable ammunition feeding device and has any one of the following: pistol grip, forward grip, a folding, telescoping, or detachable stock, or a stock that is otherwise foldable or adjustable in a manner that operates to reduce the length, size, or any other dimension, or otherwise enhances the concealability. They made that 2 words. How weird. Of the weapon. A grenade launcher, barrel shroud, threaded barrel. Adjusting the length of a barrel back in the day was simple. You just sawed it off. That's a load of crap. I like my older house. Yeah, isn't that crazy? Yeah, so my he has this, one of the oldest houses in Newport Richey. And I don't know what I call him the old Italian magician. I don't know what he's been doing to keep this at bay, but he hasn't had to update anything. He did not say if he actually had homeowners insurance. He didn't say if they had canceled them or not. He just told me what was going on. I think that's crazy. It's kind of like what makes me think of what's happening on Long Beach Island, a place I absolutely love to go to, off the Jersey Shore. And that's New England. That's still New England. Salt boxes. But the old houses are being built up. But they're being bought up and then they're being knocked down. I mean, these adorable little salt boxes are being torn down, and in their place, they're putting up these giant, mega mansion, multi-million-dollar structures that look like they should be in Florida along the coast. So they're definitely taking the heart out of Long Beach Island. But with that in mind, with what's happening in Florida, I got to wonder if they're pulling the same thing in New Jersey. They're saying, well, you can't have this old outdated houses. I mean, some of these houses go back to the turn of the century. I like my older house too. It takes some nursing, and but it's so solid. You know what I love about it? One of the things I love about it the most, in the summertime when it's super, super hot, even with the AC on, the heat builds up in the walls of the house. And when I open the front door, I can like get a whiff of the house's scent. Like right in that doorway there, that you can feel a little bit of the heat coming out. And I don't think there's any insulation left in this house. I think the critters took it all out. But it does pretty good. It can heat up, but it does pretty good. I'd rather be in this when a tornado or hurricane hits than anything brand new. So let me get back to the assault weapons ban of 2022. So here's the second one. A semi-automatic rifle that has fixed ammunition feeding device with a capacity to accept more than 15 rounds. Now I have a 22 semi-automatic that takes 10 bullets. So I fall beneath that. Except for an attachable tubular device designed to accept and capable of operating only with 22 caliber rimfire ammunition. Absolutely, that's government making decisions that don't affect criminals. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because they don't. We all know the story. That's why they always have guns, because they're criminals. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. Do not infringe upon this right. I mean, it's crazy. Okay, here's the third one. Any part, combination, or parts, component, device, attachment, or accessory that is designed or functions to accelerate the rate of fire of semi-automatic firearm, but not convert the semi-automatic firearm into a machine gun. Makes me think of the 1920s with the the mob with the trench coats and Tommy guns hidden underneath. Okay, number 4, a semi-automatic pistol that has an ammunition feeding device that is not fixed. Ammunition feeding is basically the same thing. And as any one of the following: threaded barrel, second pistol grip, barrel shroud, the capacity to accept a detached ammunition feeding device at some location outside of the pistol grip, semi-automatic version of an automatic firearm, manufactured weight of 50 ounces or more when uploaded, a buffer tube, stabilizing brace, or similar component that protrudes horizontally behind the pistol grip. Number 5, a semi-automatic pistol with a fixed ammunition feeding device that has the capacity to accept more than 15 rounds. This is part of the assault weapons ban. Oh, hey, how you doing, Evan? Oh, I'm sorry, it's not Evan. Dark 30. How you been? Kyle, I'm sorry. I've been out of the loop for a long time. I apologize. I'm reading the assault weapons ban of 2022 because I'm angry. I fall below these guidelines, but the thing that's going to kill me, Kyle, is this one, lead ammo ban, because I'm not seeing any good news on finding any alternatives, and I just bought more ammunition too, and then this pops up in the newspaper. Okay, this is how many do we have now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, this is number 6. A semi-automatic shotgun is the one I was worried about. It has capacity to accept a detachable ammunition feeding device. See, that I don't have. Mine feeds through the stock. Or a fixed it. I can't use it where I hunt anyways. It's state land. It's well, yeah, absolutely, yeah. I totally agree with you. You're right. I mean, just the brainwashing that's going on is just beyond compare. And so many people are they want convenience over quality. So they're going to go with whatever the status quo is, and that's good enough for them. And they're not going to bother to do any research or get any personal experience on the situation whatsoever. So capacity to accept feeding device or fixed ammunition feeding device that has the capacity to accept more than what? This is a typo. 5 rounds. They wrote it as 5 rounds and they didn't put a space in it. Come on, guys. And has any one of the following: a folding, telescoping, or detachable stock, a pistol grip, or bird's head grip, forward grip, or grenade launcher. Now, grenade launchers are... Hey, Mark, how are you doing? It's good to see you there. Hope everything's going well for you. I've been through that. What you're going through, it was terrible. They had me at death's door, but I managed to keep all my body parts. And the way I did that was I got away from the hospital and the doctors. And I just figured, with all the pain I've been through, I wasn't scared of anything. I was gonna figure it out on my own. No matter what it was my responsibility. No matter what the results were, I was gonna take a leap of faith, and I figured it out. You're waiting for it, yeah. Is it completely congested? Because mine wasn't. I only had like a couple of little buggers in there, but I was able to get rid of them myself, and I hung on to it, and I've been able to keep it healthy ever since. Okay, so the last one in here for the assault weapons ban of 2022. Any shotgun with a revolving cylinder. I haven't seen a shotgun with a revolving cylinder in a long, long time. Probably the last time I went to one of the New York State gun shows. Here's another good one. This whole mess with the guns in New York, the New York State Fair, the Great New York State Fair, is not allowing off-duty policemen to come onto their grounds with carrying anything. So that they can't even go onto the fairgrounds. An off-duty cop with his family, he can't carry. And basically, now I have to do a little bit more reading, but the last I heard about a month ago, as far as the carry goes here, you could carry as long as it was on your own property. Yeah, it got infected. I had pancreatitis. That was pretty bad. My liver was in terrible distress, and it was a blocked duct. And eventually it came out on its own, and oh my God, I think Craig had mentioned that when he did, like, a couple of years ago when we were all doing the 20 questions thing. Worst pain in the world. And I still went to work too. I took a little bit of time off, but I still went to work. And while this pain was going on, I was going to all these doctors, and they weren't telling me what it was. Yeah, it was terrible. These doctors weren't telling me anything. They were telling me, oh, cancer, cancer, cancer. 4 different doctors, 4 different types of cancer. It's like, I got this terrible pain on my right side. I can barely use my right arm because the phrenic nerve goes up, and when the gallbladder swells, it presses against that. I'm lucky it didn't burst, and these doctors are just hemming and hawing and putting me off with all these stupid things. And then I went to the emergency room, and they did a sonogram, and they found a few of those little stones in there, and one of them was in the duct. It was just big enough to hold things up. I'm like, God, all that time I wasted a couple of months. It was terrible. So I ended up in the hospital for 5 days. And the only reason that happened was because everybody is under the assumption that if you want a healthy gallbladder, you shouldn't eat fat. Well, that's what the gallbladder is there for. It's like the Dawn detergent for the fat that we eat, so that we can get vitamins and minerals from fat that we should have. So they have me on a water diet, fluid diet, and no, you don't lose weight on a fluid diet. I was kind of hoping, but it didn't happen. I had actually lost enough weight anyways. I mean, I'm about 135, and I was down to 119, 120, which was kind of scaring me because I think at my age I should definitely have a little more weight on me. But anyhow, their test for letting me go, discharging me, was to see if I could keep down a meal. Well, what do you think they bring me? Hey, PA Trapping and Outdoors, how you doing? So, Mark, they bring me for my test meal. They bring me, let's see, orange juice, which wouldn't be so bad on a good day, farina, and I think toast and no butter. I'm like, where's my fat? I need some fat. And they're like, oh, no, you can't have fat. You have to be on a fat-free diet. Well, a fat-free diet was what got me into this trouble in the first place. So I'm starving after being on fluids for, 4 days, 3 days? And so I'm willing to eat anything. Well, of course, that was not what the body wanted, and up it came. And so they kept me in for another day or so, and then and then the whole thing with, like, the meal, keeping the meal down test, they just kind of threw that out the window, and they were like, yeah, you can go. Well, whatever, they didn't want me around anymore. And one of the doctors came in and actually threatened me. He goes, if you don't have this gallbladder out, because we kind of talked a little bit beforehand. So if you don't have that out, you could be out hiking and have an attack. So I've already been there. I'm not too worried about it. I hate that. You hear that? There's no reason for it. Especially not on a Sunday, as far as I'm concerned, Saturday. Terrible. Yeah, that's the whole thing. You know, you can kill someone with a book. Unbelievable. With the binding of this book, I could do a lot of damage to somebody. I mean, I wouldn't want to, but you can pick up anything you got around you. You know, anything with some substance, anything is an assault weapon. Can be used as an assault weapon. You know, I work around people who just don't get it, and they just want to see all the guns disappear. And they don't have a gun, they don't hunt. So as far as I'm concerned, what the hell difference does it make to you? I don't want to get knocked out of hunting because of the lead ammo ban, which, like I said earlier, they've been talking about doing in New York State forever. It's either been the lead ammo ban or the crossbows. It's constant back and forth. It's like a bunch of old ladies up in Albany. They can't make up their freaking minds. And here's another one. They've been talking about lead ammo killing off the wildlife almost my whole life. I think I started hearing about that in the 1980s, about how bad it was. Well, anytime I go out hunting, except for the overuse of my state land, and there's been a lot of poaching there, you know, so you're going to see less, and there's been a lot of predation. I mean, they've always made the lead ammo sound like it's just leaving animals just lying dead at your feet. You know, just like carpets and blankets of dead animals, because the lead ammo we've been using all these years, and these animals have been out there eating the lead ammo by accident, and they're all just dying in droves. It's kind of like the house cat thing. I can't remember what country it was who just made the domestic cat an invasive species. I think it was New Zealand, but they've been saying that for years too, how cats have been eating all the songbirds. I've had cats my whole life. Let's say I had one good catbird, and that was my Norwegian forest cat, Avery, the big black and white that's in one of my videos. It's dedication to my old vet, and Avery was highlighted. Avery, in his lifetime, he was outside all the time too. He caught 2 birds. Yep, that's it. And all the other, oh, Australia, thank you. Yeah, there it is. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't see it. You know, I just don't see it. It's like with the lead ammo. You know, lead ammo is supposed to just leave piles and piles of dead animals everywhere. And like in the cats, and you know, oh, the cats are killed. I've been seeing more stuff about that on Facebook, so I dismiss those ads. I get rid of them. So December, I graduate from 2 of my classes, and then I was hoping to take a little break and hopefully get out there and do a little trapping. I never see my cats catch birds. Exactly, Mark. I rarely see that. In fact, the second one that the first one was interesting with the Norwegian forest cat. My neighbor told me about it, and I found the body later. But she elderly neighbor, she loved Avery. Avery was her favorite kitty in the whole world. And when I came home, she came running over, knocked on the door. She goes, Irene, you're not going to believe what happened with Avery. I was so scared for him. And she said she looked out the kitchen window, and Avery was sitting in the yard, and a blue jay was dive bombing him. And it scared my neighbor, and she thought that blue jay was like going to peck my cat's eyes out. So she scrambles, puts her shoes on, runs to the front door, comes around the corner on the driveway to head down to save Avery. And just at that moment, once you know what that cat did, he reached up, grabbed that blue jay, slammed it on the ground, dead. And I found the body later. And then that was it. And then years and years later, I'm living upstate, and there are huge flocks of robins that had come back. and they were flying all over the place, getting reoriented after their trip. And my cat Avery is out there, and one of them just happened to fly into his mouth. But he comes to the front door, and I hear him out there, and I open the door, and I say, "Oh my God, Avery, you caught a robin!" And he went to meow, and when he did, he opened his mouth too much, and the bird flew out. So I mean, and that cat's entire lifetime too. And I've had, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 other outdoor birds, and only one of them, which was Red Cat. He was a huge tomcat back in the 60s when we lived up on the mountain in Fort Montgomery. He brought back a pileated woodpecker to my mother and left it on the front porch. That was quite a feat. What does PA Trapping have to say? I got my Coleman Crawdad out yesterday. Coleman made good boats. I had a Coleman canoe with struts in it. What a great canoe that was. You know, people say you can flip those. I have never been able to flip a canoe. Canoes are very, they're very civilized. I mean, you can bring everything you need for the day. You don't have to go back to the car for anything. Put cooler in there, anything you need. Coleman still has good products. I still have Coleman tents. Well, it's a little after 10, and I didn't think anybody would even come in. It says there's 4 here, and I thank everybody so much for coming in. And does anybody have anything they want to talk about before I go? Because, like I said, I only want to do about an hour, and then I was going to get back to homework and stuff. But if anybody has anything they want to talk about, I could bring you up on panel if you wanted to. I don't mind spending some extra time. Anybody doing anything interesting today? I'm not. I'm just entering data all day, stuff that I kind of fell behind on. Stuff that's due by the end of the month. And what are we at today? 21st? I hate to say it, but this month went fast. Usually they don't go fast for me. Yes, Mark, take very, very good care of yourself. And good luck with everything. Thank you, Bernie, for coming in. Appreciate seeing you. It's been a while. Love your Gadsden flag. Craig, if you're there, take good care. I think I'm going to head out. And PA Trapping, thank you so much for coming in. Have fun with that Coleman. Sounds awesome. Bye, everybody. You got it, Mark. Anytime. God bless you. I'm looking forward to seeing your next videos whenever you're ready, whenever you're able. Bye-bye.